welcome to the closing beat, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day here today. Stock markets were higher today, and this is our stock market show. We just cover the stock markets, the good, the bad, and the ugly. A lot of good to cover today. We'll go over it. If you're one of our customers on Thursday, we actually have a class for you. We're going to cover the 3 types of margin for those of you that are more active with your outside accounts. Going to help you out with that. And for those of you that don't know, we're a teaching firm. So we help all size investors with their investments, retirement investments, long-term investments. We do all the work for you, but we also teach you along the way. And we do classes every single week to help our customers. Our portfolio update we do once a month. It's one of our classes that we do just to keep you updated on how things are going, because we manage our own investments here. We don't buy mutual funds, and we don't do anything that costs you any money there. So I'm really looking forward to that one, actually, because a question that I get a lot is, when do I buy? Do I buy Mondays, Tuesdays? I mean, if I'm going to add money at any point, when's the most ideal point to add? Well, we're going to cover not only this year, when would have been the best point to add, we're going to go back 5 years, and then we're going to go back 30 years just to show that, the data on that, breaking down every single day. The kind of fun stuff that we like to do. And this is the help that all the high net worth people are getting. We're just bringing it down to the average person. So if you like, check us out at jazzwealth.com. End of sales pitch. Moving on to the markets. You got the Dow higher by 197, the S&P 24 on the day, the Nasdaq 83, and what was really exciting was the Russell. I don't know, the second day now that the Russell's participated and outpaced the markets there, whereas we've seen the Russell has kind of been lagging, so it was good to see the Russell participating there as well. On the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you see the 5-minute chart of the markets, basically just showing you every little movement the markets made today. Basically a positive day, and stayed that way for most of the day today. Overnight, if you follow the futures market, was the exact opposite of what happened the night before. So the night before, we started off higher, opened up lower. Last night, we started off lower, opened up higher. So it's pretty cool. And like I said, the Russell was the major focus there. In the markets, S&P 500, by the way, had 37 new 52-week highs today. Many of those were utility stocks. They did poke up to new highs, as did the sector. 5 new 52-week lows, and they were basically all retail with the exception of CenturyLink, which also hit a new 52-week low. I know a lot of you watched that one there. Sorry, new 52-week low there. Speaking of lows, 49% of the S&P 500 stocks are now above their 50-day moving average. That's near lows for the year. That's actually pulled back quite a bit. We hit a high of 97% earlier in the year. 97% of the entire S&P 500 was above the 50-day moving average. We've basically shaved exactly half of that off since then. So it depends. Do you think that's a good thing because you're contrarian, or maybe you think that's a bad thing because you think the markets are going to pull back? I just bring you the data. Speaking of data, existing home sales came out today, fell again, 5.19 million on an annualized basis. We were expecting 5.35 million. The median home price was higher by 3.6%. Median home price in the U.S., $267,300. $267,300. What do I always tell you guys? Always ask, is that high or is that low? Like, if you shoot me a number, are you trying to impress me or are you trying to scare me? Let me know there. So we did a little researching. That's the highest for the month of April ever in history. So median home prices hitting basically new highs there. You had some weakness overall in existing home sales, and the National Association of Realtors blamed it on the tax deductions. In particular, they were kind of picking on New York there. Let's see what you guys think about that. Sales on the higher end, they said, slower because of tax deductions, basically. And if you look regionally, just around the country there, over on the West Coast, those guys actually saw an uptick in home sale purchases. So pretty cool. Existing home sales accounts for 90% of the entire home sales category. And by the way, they're based on, I was thinking about doing a video on this. They're based on homes that have closed. Not that you signed a contract or you're thinking about buying a home, or I might. No, you physically signed on it, grabbed the keys, and you now are able to move in. So a little bit of weakness there. So anyways, that was the news that came out today as far as economic news. Let's go over to the charts. Let's take a look. You got the S&P 500 here back at the 50-day moving average. Kind of a sticking point for the S&P, although trying to trend higher. Today we moved higher on the Huawei news that the U.S. was going to hold off. I believe it was 90 days or something. No, Google said that. The U.S. was going to hold off on restrictions for now, give everybody time to adjust. Google was the one that said they're going to continue working with Huawei for 90 days, and then they're going to stop with the updates and everything to their Android services there. So it helped tech stocks, really. If you look at the Nasdaq here, it added 1% today, trying to recover from some of yesterday. If we break down into the individual sectors, semiconductors, best performer today. It's kind of weird, huh? It was the worst performer yesterday, best performer today. Added about 2% on the day. Already starting to snap back. We talked about this. What would happen yesterday? Just yesterday we mentioned this. What would happen if the markets, what would we need to get the markets to move higher? A little snapback in semiconductors, and look at the power that it had today to start lifting the overall markets. Now, to be fair, tech stocks were also higher as well on that news, and a lot of individual tech names were higher that maybe don't fall inside of the XLK or the SMH. A lot of people are going to look at the SMH and say, yeah, okay, but it hit the 200-day moving average. However you want to attribute the bounce today, or whatever you want to blame it on or congratulate it on, just know that what we were talking about yesterday, the rubber band pulling back, snapping, helps support the overall markets there. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, I don't know, maybe you'll go back and maybe you'll check it out. I don't know. Healthcare, also interesting. Yesterday, we talked about the relative strength. Healthcare was one of those that didn't close positive, but almost did. It was basically flat on the day. We've got a very interesting little downtrend line here everybody's looking at. If you're in the dojo, these charts and everything are available for our customers. Go into the dojo and draw yourself a little line. There's a hidden tool in there that you can find. And you can see we're not out of the woods yet. So while many people would say, okay, series of higher lows, series of lower highs, that creates indecision. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, you know what? Sorry, that's real sloppy, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not going to make any decisions here. People are saying, I don't believe that this is going to go higher. I also don't believe it's going to go lower until we break above or below one of those lines. And that's really what people look at from a technical perspective. So looks like about $90 to do the trick on the upside if healthcare continues to show that relative strength. I just wanted to point it out because I noticed it yesterday starting to try to hold up there, and today it did well also. Home builders did well today, 1.84%. New home construction basically beating estimates. Also higher sentiment from the home builders was some of the economic news there, just about the state of the industry and future of the home sales there. The only negative, and I put it in the report below, was single-family home permits, which is seen as a future potential addition to new home construction, or it's seen as like a forecast for future home construction, which, by the way, those numbers come out on Thursday. Today's Tuesday? Yeah, they come out on Thursday. So we'll get a look at that. Nonetheless, home builders were higher today. Whoa. On the downside, you got consumer staples. I'll point this out real quick because we just did this class on Thursday for customers, and we used this as our example. How cool is it to see this happen in real time? If you're one of our customers, go back to last week's class if you didn't check it out. We used all the data. We took opinion out of it, and we showed data to show when someone believes something is overpriced, overvalued, underpriced, or undervalued, and we used XLP as one of our examples, our main example there, and how cool is that? So just want to point that out. If you hadn't had a chance to just follow up with the data, there you go. Pretty sweet there. That's what we do for our classes, by the way, in our monthly update. I show data, but then we see how did that data play out. I can't wait to do this month's update. But then we also look forward and say, okay, here's the data going forward. Let's see what happens. We catch back up a month later. Not only do you know how your investments are doing, but you know statistically what to expect. Does the person that manages your account, do they do that? Oh, boy. No, I don't think they do that. Let's look at some individual stocks today. We got to type them right, first of all. Tesla a little bit lower on the day. All in all, wasn't too bad. It did close above 200 today. It is officially in that waterfall, kind of a drop there. People are trying to pick the bottom. You see them trying to pick the bottom. We've been talking about the drop there just to kind of keep focused on it each day. So you see people already diving in there, believing that this is a waterfall drop. Really unfortunate news, and I think this is unfortunate for Morgan Stanley, not unfortunate for Tesla. Morgan Stanley said, you know what, we've got a worst case price target for Tesla, and it was at 97. Stock's at 200. They say, yeah, worst case it goes to 97. They said today we're going to change that to $10. So we think worst case Tesla goes to $10. Morgan Stanley telling all their high net worth customers this. Their price target is 230. So let's just think about this for a second. This is why this is horrible for them. They think the price target's going to be about 230 over the next 12 months. So they don't really expect a whole lot out of the stock. However, then they go on the backside of that and they say, well, worst case it goes to $10. Well, which one is it? Right? I would be so pissed if I was one of their customers. I'd be like, well, what are we going to 230 or are we going to 10? Now I'm scared, right? So I think it was really unfortunate for Morgan Stanley to do that. That'd be like me, someone asked me a question and I go, well, it could go to 250 or it could go to 150. Well, yeah, of course. Eventually it's going to one or the other. I didn't like that at all, but that was the news for the day, and that caused a little bit of shakeup earlier this morning. I don't know what to say else about that. That's not rare, by the way. They do that. That's basically on almost all of their more higher named recommendations that they do. I don't know why they do that. I think it's silly. Kohl's down 12% today. They reported earnings. Not good for Kohl's. So remember, they partner with Amazon. You can go return your stuff in most of the Kohl's stores now if you bought it through Amazon. Earnings were lower than expected. They missed by 7 cents. That was pretty good. Revenue was basically in line. The problem is they're losing money on the same revenue, bringing in the same amount of money, but now they're losing more and more money, and they don't really have anything to say as far as like, well, we're making some changes. We are advertising more, as a basic example. They just didn't have that. So shares were lower today. Sales in the stores also slower, which maybe hints at lower revenues in the future. One company that doesn't have that problem is AutoZone, a beast of a stock, and as far as earnings go, 5.5%. Gain on the day. They reported earnings beat by a freaking mile. I should have typed that in there. Store sales. People keep shopping at AutoZone. They love going to this place. Sales grew 3.9% year over year. This is the fifth straight earnings beat in a row, by the way, for this company. And if you go back to 2016, they had just quarter after quarter after quarter. They were killing it. Stock is over $1,000. They sell auto parts. Just fascinating to me. Anyway, strong stock there. JCPenney in the news here today, almost hitting new lows, almost going back under $1 again. It's not going well for them. Disappointing earnings again. They lost more than expected. They lose money. They're not a profitable company, which I don't know if the dollar per share was a dead giveaway there, but they lose money. Sales slowing down much more than expected. They're expecting sales to be around 5.5%, same store sales. They came in at 4.2%. So, not looking good for them. Boeing in the news here today for a few different reasons. The stock was ultimately higher. When you look back at the Ethiopian crash, there are now investigators saying this, not the company. Investigators are saying, you know what? It's a good possibility that there was a bird strike that hit the sensor that caused that sensor to put it into that nosedive. Ethiopia says absolutely not. We will not accept that as an answer. But investigators are saying, you know what? It kind of seems like that may be the case. China Eastern Airlines asked Boeing for money. They basically said, hey, we got 14 planes sitting here that are grounded. We can't use them. We want you to pay for that. And they also wanted to delay some of their existing orders, putting a little pressure on that. Do you think that has something to do with the little China fight that we got going on right now? Maybe? You think so? American Airlines. What else do we have here? American Airlines higher by 1% on the day. Not a really big news story today. They're suing mechanics unions. Apparently, they're doing a little bit of a slowdown there that is outside of the scope of what they're allowed to do, causing 650 flight cancellations. Didn't know that. That sucks. And I believe Beyond Meat's had its worst day today. That'd be the worst day on record for Beyond Meats. Loses 10% today. Was at about $100. Now it's trading at about $75. Shows how fast these IPOs move. If you're not trading this quickly, you can get yourself in just a little bit of trouble. And last news there, unfortunately, the SEC has shot down the latest, or they postponed. They didn't shoot it down permanently. They have postponed the latest Bitcoin ETF, if that's something you're looking at, which is that came out today, by the way. And Bitcoin back above 8,000, if that's something you like to look at there. Cool. Maybe they forgot the 2 at the beginning of their $10 price target. Unfortunately, they did not. They actually said, worst case scenario, if all hell breaks loose, this thing goes to $10. Which, now, I'll give them this argument. They just raised a bunch of money. Go back to the last time they raised a bunch of money from the public markets. Raised a bunch of money, stock price shot higher. Anybody that invested in that secondary was rewarded, or potentially rewarded if they sold it. This time, they raised money. Tesla they just did it. They raised $10 billion. and stock prices and overall yields are headed, or prices are headed lower. How's that make you feel if 10 months from now they go to raise more money? You're not going to have as many people wanting to invest. So I certainly buy the argument there. Yep. Oh, no. And then on the flip side, you got analysts saying 800 to 4,000. Yeah. That's crazy. I don't, I just don't have much to say about that. I don't like that because all that was just to get attention, period. But it's Morgan Stanley. They don't need to say things like that. They should hold themselves. That's like something I would say. You guys wouldn't take that very seriously. Morgan Stanley, come on, guys. That hurts me a little bit. Jeremy says, if I invest with you, then how do you make money to stay in business? So right on the front page of our website, actually, it's based on your account size. You go about halfway down on that home page there. Depends on your account size, whether you have 1 or 10 accounts with us. It all counts as one there. And that's all we charge. That's it. So our funds don't have any expense ratios. We don't have any trading commissions. There's nothing like that. If you want to participate with us, that's it. You think Apple could do well with Tesla moving lower? I saw Jeff Bezos said something about maybe a new investment in the auto space. I know he wants to. He wants to just conquer transportation. So I think there was a meeting today or overnight or something. I didn't really read the whole story, but I would think maybe Amazon as well. They got the planes. Do they have trains? Well, they got the planes. They've got that taken care of. They want the cars. I'm telling you, they're going to do something. I know they've invested in a couple self-driving things, but they want to be on the car side of things. That's a big play for Amazon there. Definitely not an overnight thing, by the way. Yep. Oh, you're welcome, Jeremy. No problem. Stefan says, what's the minimum you need a month for a Roth IRA? There's no real rule on that. Now, there may be other companies that say you have to do something, but in general, the IRS doesn't set any rules. You just can't go over either the $6,000 or $7,000, depending on how old you are. How you get there, there's no official rule. Whether you put some money in and leave it for a few months, you do it weekly, monthly, all in, right? There's no official rule there, so don't worry about scaring anybody or breaking any rules for that. No, only thing is you can't go over that maximum. Yep. Kevin says, if I open a Roth with you guys, does that get me your training? Yeah, in the dojo, actually, we have all the videos loaded up in there. We do, of course, the weekly videos that are live every week, but here's kind of what that looks like. Here's our last class, overpriced versus overvalued. You can sort by basics or really advanced stuff in there. There's a whole bunch of videos in there, by the way. Maybe too much. We should probably refresh some of that. But yeah, there's all kinds of videos in there, and if you, of course, get that. Yeah. We do not have any sort of, we don't play that game where we go, oh, well, that's another $5 or whatever. Yeah. What's the lowest market cap stocks you typically look at? It depends on the fund that we're going in there. Not just market cap is important, but volume and liquidity is also important. Because remember, when we place a trade or we add an investment to our account, we're not just buying 100 shares. We're potentially, a lot of people are getting ready to buy into one company when we place an order. So liquidity is also a big deal there. It's a big deal for mutual funds. That's why you don't see mutual funds just poof, all of a sudden they sold Microsoft. They can't. It's just they have that much money invested. So liquidity is bigger to me than market cap. Yep. Cool. Jeremy says, I'm 40, I could do 200 a month in IRA. Well, only do what you have to. I'm really going to start focusing on that. If you don't have to do 200 a month, don't do it. Don't let somebody talk you into that. Figure out how much you need to invest to hit whatever goal you have, then just do that, right? And then we can move on. Yep. How much do you think Amazon's healthcare push will affect the healthcare space? Super excited about that. I believe in that. You have 3 of the biggest and best minds on the planet. One of them is probably going to run for president here soon. I think that to me is amazing. What they're already testing, if you have a chance to kind of read about that, what they're already testing on their own employees and how they're able to save money, just expand that across the United States. We're going to be working with them one way or another in the future. I think it's going to be huge. Every time that comes up, I say, that to me is very interesting. I hope they continue with that and the government doesn't get in the way. Or Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would get in the way of that. So love him or hate him, he would ruin the whole thing. So naturally, I don't want him as president because I like what they're doing. Amazing when you let smart companies try to conquer and disrupt something. It's all over the place. You look at what Uber's doing. Yeah, they don't make any money yet. Maybe they'll figure it out. But look what they're doing, disrupting whole industries there. And you could name a million companies doing that. Very, very good. It's very good. The Tesla cars catching fire is a bit of a problem. Yeah, you can't have a product that catches fire, or at least is perceived to be catching fire. Same with Boeing. You can't have a product that is perceived to be falling out of the sky. In reality, are they falling out of the sky? No. Is it that big of a deal? No, but you can't have that perception. I agree. Yep. Maslam says, I put all I can in my retirement accounts now just in case something happens in the future. That's very common. Yep. Nothing wrong with that. Healthcare is also a concern. So you might go, look, I know I'm only supposed to invest this much. I don't know what healthcare is going to do. Let me throw in a little bit more or something to try to offset that. That's a hard one to quantify, but we can take some shots. Yeah. Yep. Apple sells off 15% of handsets there. How does it? There's a lot of balls in the air with that right now, Harry, between Huawei and that future, how that affects Apple, how that affects Apple's image in China. Not to mention all the chip makers and everything, who can do business with them and not. It's very interesting. China doesn't make chips. A lot of people don't know that, but China doesn't actually have a chip-making business like as significant as the U.S. That's going to be tough. You can't just fire that thing up overnight and say, well, now we make our own chips. There's a lot of balls in the air there for that. Yep, you got it. Well, I think I've nailed it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you're one of our customers, Thursday, remember our class. We're going to do the 3 different types of margin for those of you. A lot of our investors are also active traders, and so we're going to help you guys out with that. Take the eye off the old retirement investing for a bit, and I'll share with you the 3 types of margin accounts and specifically how do they work, without all the lingo and the jibber-jabber that you can't understand. We'll just go through it. We'll have a good time. Grab a glass of wine. Come hang out with me Thursday night. We'll see you then. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, to do our normal show, and enjoy.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.